You hear me? Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Bill Dimmler. I'm the Director of Network Administration for Multiple Listing Service. I'm one of the guys who kind of keeps everything running behind the scenes. We're going to basically wanted to give you an overview of what cloud computing is. I'm sure you're hearing a lot about it. It's a big buzzword right now, and there's also a lot of confusion about what it is, what you could do with it, and so on. So basically, what is the cloud? The cloud is it's basically the internet. To make it, I'm going to make it real simple. It's internet. The technical, it's different, but basically you need to know it's really just internet. And you could fit, there's apps, database, code, mobile, PC. They don't quite have the kitchen sink in, but they're working on it. So basically what we're going to be going over, we're going to go over a brief history of the cloud, what the cloud is and all the market buzz, example of cloud applications, why cloud computing is important to real estate agents, advantages, disadvantages of the cloud, how to get started, and also how you could start. We're not going to have a lot of time to go over setting up a virtual real estate brokerage, how you set up a virtual one. But it can be done, and it can be done cheaply. We'll have to do it, but I'd like to give you an overview to give you thoughts of how you could approach or how you can make your life much easier. I'd like to give you a brief history of the cloud. You don't have to know any of this, but this is back from the early 90s. I started out as a network engineer, and this is a network diagram. If you notice the top there, you see a thing called the internet. We used to just draw a cloud for it. So whenever we're connecting stuff, we're like, all right, we just go through the cloud. That's where the term cloud comes from. It's a very old, probably 20, 30 years old term, but that's where it comes from. And if you want to know why we call it a cloud, here's a map of the internet. Or actually, this is just blogs, but this map, as you can see, it's so many connections that it starts looking like a cloud. The idea of doing work on the internet, which basically what cloud computing is, has been around for a really long time, and it hasn't taken off. But now, with cloud, it's really starting to take off. Before that, in the beginning, we used to have a thing called grid computing, where you could rent resources on some big machines or some big company instead of buying all of it for yourself. It doesn't really pertain to you, but it's kind of where it began. After that, we had a thing called application service providers. These are companies that will host your applications. You could have a custom application, and they will host it or do all sorts of other things with applications. This was also kind of before its time. This was during the 90s, even early 2000s, but the internet just wasn't fast enough. You could develop a rich application, but to deliver it over a slow internet just really wasn't working for people. So this also fizzled. After that, they tried to start selling software as a service. This is basically a subscription where you, instead of just buying new software every few years, you just get a subscription to software and you get it online. This hasn't taken off as much, but it's kind of the same thing as what cloud is. After that, they came out what they call, what everybody starts to know as a cloud. Maybe it's the name, it's also the maturity of the technologies. Now, it seems like now in the fourth iteration, it's really taken off. And as you can see, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of services that you use in the cloud. So to go back to an earlier slide, what is the cloud now? It's basically where you connect applications, you connect Your mobile, you could go on your laptop, you could go on your tablet, you could go on your phone, you could go on your home computer, you could go on your work computer and always access the same information. That makes your life much easier instead of using the little thumb drives or disks or emailing yourself for an important document so you don't lose it. If you keep it in the cloud, you have one spot for it and you could grab it from a lot of different locations. You don't have to worry. Another great thing about the cloud is it allows you to share stuff with yourself, with all your different devices. It also allows you to share stuff with various different people. As you can see, you could collaborate, documents, communicate, you could share schedules, and you could do this all through online. And like I said, you don't have to be at a computer to do this now. Because now with mobility used to be, hey, I have a laptop, I'm mobile. It's not what it is anymore. Now it's like, hey, I got my tablet, I'm mobile. Hey, I got my smartphone, I'm mobile. And with now, if you have stuff in the cloud, you could access it and manipulate it, send it, or share it all within your various devices. You could just always be connected. And as real estate agents, you're always on the go anyway. You don't want to be tied to an office or a desk. One last thing about what helped bring about the cloud is I'm sure you all heard about Web 2.0 and all the various services. Before Web 2.0, the web was very static. Web 2.0, with sites like Flickr, Facebook, Twitter, you've been seeing WordPress, Picasa, there's hundreds and hundreds of them. Websites became much more interactive, and you're not just consuming stuff, now you're interacting with stuff, storing stuff, creating stuff on the web, as opposed to just looking stuff up. An example of cloud is, many of you probably already know, is a thing called Word Docs. Google Docs. With Google Docs, they have Word, spreadsheet, we'll get more into this later, a lot of different applications, and you don't have to install anything on your PC. All you have to do is just, you have access to the internet, you have access to all your stuff within Google Docs.
What's the security like on that? It's just passwords, accept?
Passwords, yeah, we're going to go talk a little bit about security. Like certain things like Google Docs, they are very secure in that usually somebody's not going to hack into it, but one thing about all online transactions is it's only as secure as your password. If you name it after your cat or something, it's not going to be very secure because
Anything that you do, because it's complimentary and you don't have to pay for it. From what I understand, Google can actually, sift through and look at certain keywords for marketing purposes.
when you go on Google app, you'll see a thing called it's called AdWords. You'll see AdWords and AdSense. AdSense is something they put on a site. You'll see a little bar, just say your emails about, dog shampoo or something. They'll have, that's what it does. It doesn't have, they don't store that you personally or anything. It's just that, oh, this document's about this particular subject. And we'll go into it. You don't have to deal with that with, there's a thing called Google Apps, which is a business version of Google Docs. What's going on with this? Another example, right now I'm going into consumer. Another example would be Amazon MP3 that Amazon just released. Well, what this is what you used to have your iPod or whatever your device is, and that's where you kept your music. Now you could keep your music in the cloud, in Amazon's cloud. And now all your phone, your computer, your you know, your iPod, if it's a touch, if it has internet, anything, even some cars are going to be coming out with this. You're going to start seeing this everywhere. Hey, I just have my music library. Why do I have to, every time I get a new device, I got to load everything on? That is really great. It makes your life much easier. But at the same time, if you don't have internet, you don't have your music. There's plus and minus to that. There are certain devices that get much more intelligent. They start caching certain songs or whatever. So you have versions local, but it's definitely the way things are going to go, because you're going to start seeing things have less and less local storage and just store things on the cloud. Next one you're going to hear big next week, Monday, Apple's coming out with their iCloud. iCloud is their version of the cloud, and that allows you to store photos, music, anything you would do on your iPad, iTunes, your iPod, or anything like that. That is great. It's all encompassing. Though a downside is that it only works with Apple products. If you have a mixed, it works great with your Apple products. But if you use Apple all the time, it's a great service. iCloud, you sign up with it. It's not out. It's coming out Monday.
I understand. When it does any of these cloud companies, how does it access?
You simply go online. Most of your devices, for example, if I use Amazon MP3 and I have an iPhone, I just install the app and it does all the work for me. Excuse me?
For an iPhone, what is the app?
It's called Amazon MP3. Either one, we're going to go through a lot of examples, but they all have either various, for tablets and phones, you have various applications you could just install and they do the work. If you're on a computer, you could just go to the website or you can install an application. You have a choice. Go back, one of these was, another great one I use is called Dropbox. Dropbox is a free online. You get 2 gigabytes free, and if you want more, you pay. But it's a spot where you just save photos, documents, whatever you want. What's great about it is when you're on your computer, the same thing with a PC or a Mac, it just goes right under your documents. It's an actual folder on your computer, and you just save to it just like any other folder. But what happens is when you're done and you go, if you have the Dropbox application, you put it on your laptop has the same folder. It's exact same synchronized with your work PC, your home PC, or any other PC. It also installs on any smartphone and any tablet. So if you have any sort of documents, and you'll be surprised, you'll be like, I might use it for a couple things. Once you start using it, you're like, oh wow, why would I ever want to, I don't want to save stuff on because I'm going to go home and I'm going to want it, or I'm going to want to check something on my phone or on a tablet, work something. You just have it in one spot, and all your devices can access it. Now, before I go, I want to just clarify one thing about cloud and cloud applications. There's 2 different ways to look at it, or 2 different things that happen. One is, like we saw with Dropbox or with Amazon MP3. They are storage, where you store your stuff on the cloud, in the cloud, and then you use another application. For example, I might type something up in Microsoft Word and store it in Dropbox. Then I go home and I want to continue working on a document. I will open up Office, open it from Dropbox, and go. That's storage. But there are other ones, for example, like Google Docs, which is the application and storage. What I mean by that is, to use the Microsoft Office analogy, you need Microsoft Office on your home computer and on your work computer, because it's Microsoft Office document. You're just storing a document, not the application. Whereas Google Docs, and we'll go over other ones, you're actually using the application online, which means you could use it from any computer as long as you have internet. It's an important distinction. The desktop apps tend to be a little richer, but that's slow, that's rapidly diminishing. And the online applications are very easy because you don't have to install anything anytime. You just go to the website.
But why is it important to real estate agents?
Right now, you're going to see it's important for all people, and it's the future. I know this is cliche and everything, but this is going to be sort of a fundamental shift on how people view computers. You're seeing it with the tablets and the phone. People want to access their stuff anytime, anywhere, no matter where they are and everything. And that's what cloud computing allows you to do. It could save you a lot of money up front. I have a slide here. We're going to talk about how much money it can save you. But you're not out going buying all the software anymore. You just get what you need. It allows you to share things with people. Now, for example, to use the Dropbox, I could share that with people. I could set up a folder and just share it with somebody else, and they have access. So I don't have to send it to them or anything. If you have somebody that you work with, just create a shared folders in Dropbox, and you both have access to it. And if you're working on it, you don't have to say, oh, can you send it to me? She already has it, and so it's much more easier than sending back and forth versions. You're both working on the same data.
And you could obviously access data from anywhere.
I'm using Google Apps as one of the things. I'm going to be telling you a lot of different programs to use. I'm not really so much recommend. I want to give you examples. I want to endorse anything, but I'm going to give you examples. For example, Cloud App is Google Apps in your office. Now, like I was saying before, when you use something like Google Apps, you could use it from anywhere. You have freedom and flexibility. And in the real estate market, you're traveling a lot. You're going to closings, you're going to open houses, you're going all over the place. And it makes your life much easier if you're not tied to the office. You don't have to call somebody, hey, can you look this up? You have that. You have access to it. It's in the cloud, as long as whatever device you're using connects to it. You work. You work more efficiently. By having your data in one spot, your data is always in sync. You don't have, I was working on it at home, which version is this? Do I have a different version somewhere else? If I'm sharing this with somebody, they have their version, you have their version. Everybody's working on the same documents, spreadsheets, so whatever it is that you're working on, everybody's sharing it, just like they're all sitting in the same office and they're all working on it together. But here you could be anywhere. You're always using the same updated programs. Every time you boot your PC, everybody sees like, oh, this wants to update, and it gets aggravating, and you have to go to a new version of Office, and they changed it all so much, or whatever. And also, you have to buy it. With using these online in the cloud apps, they just update themselves. They automatically update. You don't have to update them. Then you don't have to maintain them or anything. That's all done for you. All you do is go and use the program.
We went over this many times. You can share your data evenly, and you can collaborate
Very easily with other people.
This is for Google Docs. You could use 15 different file formats, including most of the Microsoft ones.
And you could email and just convert them all to PDFs. When you save stuff on, when you have stuff on the cloud, or in this case, Google Docs, if you lost your laptop with all your documents, that could have been a big problem. But now, if your documents are in Google Docs, it doesn't matter. You just have a new laptop and you still have all the same files. You didn't lose anything. You just lost the laptop as opposed to you lost your data. you're seeing more and more app stores, marketplaces, and everything. You could just keep adding functionality to many of these different programs. They usually start with a free trial or a free version, and as you get comfortable with it or you need more, you could upgrade versions or add new features. You know, it's not all great with the cloud. There are some things. Big thing right now is you must be online to access your data. And if you don't have internet access, you know, you can't access it. There are workarounds right now. Like Google Docs uses a thing called Google Gears. Dropbox keeps a local version on your PC. They are working around it, but but it is something to consider. You're at the mercy of the cloud vendor. Sometimes they change something dramatically. Sometimes something was free, and all of a sudden they want to start changing money. They might start with changing money. Whatever vendor you use, make sure you're comfortable with their service level agreement. One thing I hate is the bait and switch, where they give you something for free for a while, and once you start to depend on it, they start charging more, or some, you know, they start putting onerous restrictions on it, and so on. Just something you want to make sure. And we're going to talk a little about, you know, same thing, security. You are taking a lot of your sensitive stuff and putting it online. Many vendors, same thing. Many vendors provide fantastic security, but it's usually password-based security, and so it's only as good as your password. You know, how can cloud computing save you money? You no longer have to pay someone. You know, it's bad for guys like me who work in IT, but it's good for you. You don't have to maintain, if you have an office, you don't have to have a file server, an Exchange server, and the people that come in and maintain it. It's all just maintained online. You don't have to buy software anymore. It makes your budgeting much easier. Every time they come out with new versions, it could cost hundreds, thousands of dollars for an office to upgrade their software. Now you know that you're paying, for example, $6 per user per month. It's staying the same. If they come out with new versions, you automatically get it. Many times you have a lot of different applications. Many of these new cloud applications you could build right. You have more time online. You could, they tie together and you have certain packages. You're going to be able to cut back a lot on your system. If you have any back-end servers or any other things, you're going to be able to basically not use them anymore, because your stuff is going to be in a cloud. And also, whatever devices you're using, you don't have to buy these big beefy PCs. You could buy a much slower one, because you're really just using it to get onto the internet. Cloud computers also make general integration with other ones. They all have APIs and they all integrate fairly well with each other. And they're also, like we said, regular updated. 6 questions you want to look at before you would go. Bigger isn't always better. What that means is that there are a lot of times big companies will just buy up a little company, slap their own logo on it. It doesn't always mean it's the best software. Meanwhile, there are smaller companies that have been doing this for a long time. So what I'm saying is, just because it has big company, you know, some really big company, it doesn't always mean it's the best. Understand your security needs. You're going to have different security needs than, you know, storing your MP3s and storing, you know, like a contract. You're going to have to. They have different security needs. Now, different cloud. They have different security for different applications depending on what you're storing, but it's just something to consider. Data backup. They back up your data. Like I said with the laptop, if they don't back it up, if you lose your laptop, you have it back. But you also want to make sure, what if I don't like this company anymore? I want to get my data out. How do you get it out? And also, what if the company goes out of business or something like that? That's something you want to consider. Many of them have it where you could do a local backup. It's where you actually back up your data from the cloud to your PC. Make sure you have a good SLA. SLA, service level agreement, that's usually how much uptime You know, many companies will promise 99% uptime, 99.9, 99.99. Usually call how many nines do they support. You know, 99.99 is usually only about 4 hours a year that you're down. Customer service, definitely call anyone. If you're going to run your business on that, you want to call their customer service. Make sure you're not just getting a runaround or anything else, just something you want to consider. One last thing before we go, you can create what they call a virtual office, where you create virtual teams. You and your fellow agents or your office, you don't have to be tied to an office anymore. Now, we've been doing this through email and a lot of other things, but now it's much more tightly integrated. 7 apps for managing. These are simply recommendations or possibilities. There's hundreds and hundreds of different ones out there, but here's 7 that you could start off. Google Apps. Google Apps is different than Google Docs is because this allows you to, it's much more robust. You don't have the ads, and it gets installed on your own domain. You know, if it's myrealestatebusiness.com, you go to My Real Estate Business and you do this. You're not going to Google. They have also it's much better, much richer. You have much more storage and many other benefits. And just so everybody knows, we're putting this on a Tech Fair Live. I'm going to have various notes, so I know I'm going fast. If you miss any of it, don't worry. You'll be able to look all this up. Another great, yes. Yeah, it'll be on the cloud. Another great, it's High-Rise. This is a CM, contact management system. Perfect for small. It's just online. You'll be able to go. It's from a great company called 37 Folders. And this is very simple, easy to use CRM. You know, you could email conversations. It actually even starts creating a wiki from frequent conversations. It'll actually help you put together a FAQ and any other things that you may need. A big thing right now is a thing called Yammer. Yammer is building your own private social network and allows you to help control your social network presence. This is used by, big HP, Adobe, 7-Eleven. You name some of the biggest companies, they're all using this. But what's great is this is not something it's not something you can't use. It's very easy to use. It's just going to a website, setting up your company's account, and from one spot you could start help controlling your internet, your social media presence, and creating your own social media for your own company. You could do file uploads and everything else, and this also creates an active knowledge base right from here. So if you have new people, just say a new person coming in, and there's always common questions, you have to think of these. This will actually just search through them, see what the common questions are, and create a knowledge base for you. Another one, many of you may be familiar with this, GoToMeeting. This will help you. You don't have to be the same spot to have these meetings. You can have up to, for the light model, you can have 15 people. They have ones where you could go up to thousands, but for a small business, 15, it's very cheap. You could start sharing tutorials, anything else. And what's great about these, you could record them. If you have like a new employee and you go through the same routine every time, so you're teaching one, just record it, and you could just you could just have the other one just play it. They have a web conference. It's real time. Same thing, like I was saying, save it for future use. And, it saves you from traveling. A lot of times, it saves you from having to travel to meet. This is Dropbox, what I was talking to you about. It's for teams. Access Diamonds videos, it's a fantastic tool just for everybody to share. And no matter where you are, as long as you have a web connection, you have access to it. Basecamp, online project management tool, allows you to create various projects. It allows you to collaborate, create all sorts of lists. It's really works well. And this is also from High Rise. You know, sent 37 folders from High Rise. They also make another product called Backpack, which allows you, kind of like Dropbox, to store all different stuff. Last is Infusionsoft. This is market automation, something for email lists, CRM. It does just about everything you want. And in all these programs are very easy to set up. They're cheap. They don't require to buy any special hardware or anything. They're all just subscriptions. Some are free. Some are $6 a month. Some are $20 a month. But you could literally create a virtual office with minimal time. I don't know how much time I have left, but do I have any questions? Okay. Like I said, this would be online, and that's it.